So episode 3 of the Pause Menopause.
Da, da, da.
How's your menopause going this week then, Jill?
How is my menopause?
What do you want to talk about this week?
Well, won't talk about how my menopause is going this week because I could blabber on all week. And it's always about the same thing. Every time you ask me that, I'm like, it's these hot flushes.
Right, with the hot flushes, no, we did talk about this just before we started. And the hot flushes, you think, are because of what? We're not going to go into too much depth or whatever about it, but you suddenly said to me today, I think I know why I'm having all the hot flushes.
Yes, it only hit me just recently when someone suggested going on HRT as a remedy, that I quite recently come off of it. Now, we'll do that, and I think we'll do that on a different one.
On a different one, yeah, potentially, yeah.
It's such a personal thing. I know you've never done it.
No,
I loved the HRT. When I first went on it, it was exactly what I needed. But just to clarify, that for about 6 months, I could feel that something had shifted and it was no longer working for me.
Right.
We did I went to the doctor, we did tests, I decided to come off of it, and it has so far proved to be the right thing, except, oh my God, like I've always had.
So some of the symptoms have come back, basically.
Yeah, just really that. So in terms of emotionally, because one of the reasons I went on it in the first place was I was so sad and depressed and anxious and joint pain, all sorts, all the classic standard lack of estrogen symptoms I had, but I never had the hot flushes during the day. I've had them for years and years and years at night, the night sweats. I literally turn into like a slimy frog in my bed. Nice. But not during the day. But it's obviously hot here too. You know, the temperature's gone right up. But this is more than that. I am literally, maybe 5 times an hour just. And it's dripping. It is dripping off me. My clothes are soaking. I mean, my feet. This is gross.
You can't see your feet. You can't see your feet on the podcast, but I can see them. It's true. They are a bit sweaty, Betsy. Is it just coming out from your feet, or is it coming out?
We won't go there.
Draining down the body and into the feet.
It is. I mean, gosh, it doesn't bother me as such, but it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable, and I know it does. I mean, again, this is a whole other subject, but my partner, my partner, he's really cool with it all. I can come in from work and go, oh my God, I stink.
Yeah.
And he just looks at me like, nice, lovely. But can you imagine, I really empathize with women who are potentially single and who are dating, and with all this going on, it's like,
well, we actually both watched a documentary. Now we're going to do a podcast on our background and where we live a little bit more. Probably even the next one, podcast number 4. But we actually both watched a documentary in French by Arte this week, and I don't know when it came out, but it was called La Menopause, I think it was actually, and then there's a subtitle around it. And it was really good, really interesting. Now, these are French women talking, so this is a French perspective, which also has relevance, I think, because I think each nation and each culture
slightly different,
has an approach to being a woman and a mother and a young woman, middle-aged woman, older woman. I think every single culture has an approach to that. And I found it really interesting because I've observed how French women, I work with a lot of French women and have done for years. The concept of a French woman is it's almost like they're supposed to stay elegant their entire life. The classic, they've got the white shirt, the white t-shirt and the jeans, and they'll look good the whole year round.
But that is what we picture, isn't it? When you picture a French woman, you think, oh yes, and and so you can see that that's part of their status.
They have a social pressure, I think, to look in a certain way and be a certain way. And I found, and you found this as well, they were mourning. They were really sad. There was a lot of grief that they were losing their physical appearance, their looks, their body shape.
Or they felt like they were
or
losing. They felt
like,
lost,
yes,
because of the changes, didn't they?
they did. And also in the media, they were saying, in French media particularly, that means films, TV series, adverts, everything. That age of women, so let's say 50, let's say that as a ballpark, to about 60, 65, are not represented at all. You kind of go from, you know, the mum either at home, or the working mum, or, you know, the mum looking after her kids and all that kind of thing. You jump a generation, and then you've suddenly got, you know, granny looking after her young kids, either being grandmother or, you know, running around doing an advert for Tenor Ladies.
Where are they?
Where's the middle bit? Where is that huge chunk?
They
of
felt
population?
invisible.
They felt invisible.
And a lot of these women who really had before felt that they were very much someone, something. They knew what their purpose was. And it's very linked, isn't it, to the whole, I mean, I think that documentary emphasized the side of femininity that's, you know, the sexual, the
very much so.
Yes, that the side of your self-worth, basically, that comes from how you look, your sexuality, and then the changes in that, how they just felt this sense of loss. So many of them. It was a real eye.
Some of them didn't even tell their husbands,
their own partner,
their own partners, that they were going through it. And some even said to their girlfriends, "Whatever you do, don't tell my husband I've been through that." And then,
and I don't think that's just French. I mean, when listening to that really hit me, because we've done this because we're quite happy speaking about this stuff.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this podcast.
Listening to that, it really hit me. Blimey, so many women are not comfortable with it. There is so much shame. That's what we're going to speak about.
We're going to speak about shame today.
But it got me thinking about all that, and more than ever, I thought, that's why there's a need for stuff like this. So we just, it's normal.
You need to rip off the band-aid and talk about it.
Hiding about it.
I went walking last Friday with a girlfriend who had terrible symptoms and went on to HRT in the end, and it's really helped her. But a big one for her is her body. It's completely changed, you know, the tummy and everything. She's currently single, but she's had 2 relationships. One of them was coming into the menopause and the perimenopause, and she's just quite recently single again. And some of the other women in the program were the same. It's like, how do you date, you know, with this going on? Because the hot sweats in the night, and the body image, how you feel.
I stink. Like
you said that to me the other day, actually. She did.
You're getting it all.
She did. So we leave each other voicemail messages quite regularly, and she told me a very funny story about stopping in a shop, which is hilarious, but possibly not relevant to this. But then she said, "God, and I stink today." Now, I have been through that phase, and I still go through that phase sometimes, and I don't understand what it is hormonally.
There's something
happens.
If you know, let us know. But
because of the underarm.
Oh my God.
You can try all sorts of, you know, deodorants. And I'm trying to avoid the really hardcore ones because they're not brilliant for your pores and for cancer and stuff like that. But sometimes you're like, I've got to do something about this because it's so stinky.
I was just sitting in the car, you know, because all the clothes at the moment, it's summer.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to you on the phone.
Yes.
I've showered, you know, an hour beforehand. And I'm just sitting there thinking, man, that is really not a nice feeling when you're going into the office.
Just have that, don't they?
Totally.
So teenagers stink.
Yeah. So it's a hormonal thing.
So I think it's definitely a hormonal thing.
It's got to be.
That is definitely it. But we wanted to talk about shame because one of the questions so there was an interviewer in this program that we watched that you didn't see. It was just occasionally you heard her voice asking questions. And there were a couple that really struck me. The first one was about, you know, have you ever hidden your symptoms because you feel shame, but in sort of like a work environment or even in front of fellow girlfriends or women, you know, have you ever felt guilty and shame about the menopause? And many of them were like, well, yes. Isn't that awful? Because this is such a natural part of our transition. And surely there should be some form of, you know, you can stand in a business meeting and go, I'm really sorry, I'm about to have a hot flush. It's just what I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
You know, just excuse me for 5 minutes and I'll be back. And they can go to the loo,
Sure.
come back. But they haven't even felt that they're comfortable enough to do that. So they've hidden it and then rushed to the toilet to try and sort themselves out. One of them was a nurse.
I know.
And it was all in the medical field. You
You're
think,
cute,
at least in a hospital,
you would think
nurses
that
would
would be embraced.
Yeah.
That hearing you speak actually reminds me of, because I don't hide it now.
No.
I'm very vocal, probably too vocal, but I did when I didn't realize what was going on. And you speaking has made me think of an incident at work.
Right.
Where I was in the office and I was surrounded by 3 or 4 colleagues that were significantly younger than me. They would have been in their 20s, maybe early 30s.
Yeah.
And they weren't speaking about me, but they were speaking about another woman who was very emotional about something that happened at work. And their remark out loud in front of me was, oh man, something along the lines of, I don't know how many more crazy, hormonal, emotional, menopausal women I can handle. And then they looked and sort of clocked me and my age, and it was one of those awkward moments. And you know what? I didn't say a thing. Whereas now I would have probably gone, oh, hormonal, menopausal,
The thing is, you're going to get there. So whatever you want to do, this is a party that you can't say no to. There's no RSVP for this one. This is a mandatory attendance.
Yeah.
Now, whether you have big time symptoms or not is a completely different matter. That's very, in French we'd say aléatoire, which means it's sort of a scattergun, approach. So but you have to attend it. So I sometimes now go, you just wait.
Totally.
Just wait. You'll get there, and then you'll go, oh my God, I completely know now.
Because those women are never going to get, you don't, do you? When you've got someone older, I remember my mom used to say to me, just you wait, and you'd be like, yeah. They will, when you're younger, they'll potentially never get it until they're there.
My mom, I think, hid it from
them. But what's important is that we're not feeling like that's, it's not so much, looking back at that situation, for example, I would never be able to stop them saying what they said, but I can change the way, and I have changed the way I feel about it. I no longer feel shame.
No,
because I understand what's happening.
You did.
I did because I didn't know. And I was thinking about that before we came on here. I was thinking why that is. And it's because when I didn't know what was going on. So there is the definition of shame is, I'm going to quote this wrong, but it's something to do with the lines of the difference between being shameful or feeling ashamed about something is, shame is I am bad, whereas ashamed, I've done something, but I've done a bad act, or so actually feeling like you are the bad thing or you are the failure, that's what I felt when I didn't know what was going on, because I was comparing myself to how I felt before. So like my joint pain, my aches and pains, my injuries, the fact I couldn't run like I used to run, I saw that as, man, what's happening to you, Jill? You're just rubbish.
So this
you
is
are
the thing,
rubbish.
it's the symptoms thing. I think no one tells you what symptoms to expect and when to expect it. And the problem is, obviously, you don't exactly know, do you? Because each one's different. So you could be, in your 30s. Some women are in their 30s when they start having symptoms. And actually, the symptoms are there for quite a long time before the actual bleeding bit starts to become apparent. So you might start having itchy skin, brain fog, be a bit irritable and don't understand why, want to kill everyone in your family.
Yeah, but because it's sometimes progressive and it's not necessarily boom,
no,
you're in there.
No.
Like the brain fog. I heard people speaking about brain fog.
Oh my God,
I never associated the fact that my anxiety and my inability.
Anxiety, that's another one.
And my inability to multitask, at work. I used to be good at that. And then suddenly I was like, what's wrong with me? Oh my God. I never for one moment thought this is because you've lost your estrogen.
Yeah.
You know, all this lovely estrogen that used to be in your body, that in your brain, in your muscles, in your bones, it served a purpose, and suddenly it's going. And of course, it's going to make a difference. But at the time, I didn't realize, and I thought, I kind of thought, oh, brain fog. What even is
I
that?
got really affected by one woman, and I have heard this lots of times actually. And even my mother ended up having this conversation, I think, with her doctor. It was one woman went to the doctor with various symptoms, and he simply, he didn't examine her. He simply said, "How old are you?" And she told him, and he said, "Well, we'll have to take your uterus out."
Oh gosh,
Do you remember that one?
I mean,
we're going to take your uterus out.
That is shocking.
No preemption, no discussion, no treatment recommendation, no suggestions of any whatsoever. We'll just take your uterus out. Now that's pretty damn, violent as a solution. It's a real violation.
And I really liked, I also found her comment really interesting about if that was a man going to the doctor, complaining about similar things, do we think the doctor's first reaction would be, well, I'll tell you what, we'll give you a vasectomy?
Yes.
No,
never,
of course
never,
it wouldn't.
Never.
And
it shouldn't be the first point of call for a woman.
Yeah.
That's like part of our source energy and our femininity. Whether it has provided you with children or not, it is part of our makeup as being maternal and productive women. It's part of our source energy, and you're looking to just rip that out.
And then you can see how that can contribute to the whole feeling of shame.
Yeah.
If even your doctor, the person that you're going to for medical advice and help and support, is just coming out with, well, let's take out this dysfunctional, because that's how they're looking at it, part of your body that's no longer any use. So kind of almost like you're hearing, well, I'm no longer of any use. Parts of my body, what I was put here to do, no longer work. So just get, you can see where the shame comes from.
And also the thing that really sort of struck me was the amount of kind of grief that kind of happened during all the perimenopausal and menopausal phase, until there were glimmers of hope with some of the women, not all of them I have to say, but with some of the women who realized that there was an end to it. And various women said, I wish people would tell you that there is an end to it, and that some of the weight that you put on, you do lose because your body readjusts and things. Some of the feelings of anxiety and the brain fog and stuff like that, it does diminish and go. You're not going to gain back lots and lots of estrogen, but you can find some kind of new balance.
Things change, don't they?
And things do change. One of my friends is a doctor in France, and she's Polish. And she said one of the best ways to maintain a certain level of estrogen is to have sex.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but hearing these women, that was the last thing that they wanted to do.
That's the thing that's kind of gone out the window.
But honestly, she said, the more you have sex, the better it is. Your bones will be healthier, your estrogen levels, your hormone levels will be that bit better.
Maybe we'll keep that one to ourselves for now.
Just saying, just putting it out there. Just putting it out there.
If you're listening, Paul.
They don't
listen.
Our partners don't listen.
Blah blah.
Oh God, yeah, I got accused of,
thing.
what the hell are you doing with the Pause Ménopause last week?
But then that's another reason for doing it, isn't it? Because some of us, I mean, I'll speak about all this to Paul, but I don't get a whole lot back. Of course, understandably. He's not that kind of guy anyway. But bless his heart, he does listen. But it is important to have people like you, that you can just speak to and realize that you're normal, isn't it? But going back to the shame thing, one thing I did want to say was that a big thing that changed for me is not necessarily, a lot of my symptoms are still there.
Right.
Not as dire. I'm not as sad as I was.
Oh God, sadness. We've not really gone to that one.
But a lot of the symptoms are still there. But I think that realization of what was going on physically with the estrogen and with other stuff, and then thinking, actually, you're not a failure. You know, this whole, you are a failure, you are useless. That's the shame. I am that. No, you are not. Gosh, considering everything that's happening to your body, we're actually doing remarkably well, you know. And that,
I think we don't give ourselves enough.
I find that incredibly empowering. And that's where, again, sorry boys, but I think, man, if it was a man dealing with all of this,
oh my God, it'd
I
be
don't
like
think
man
they'd
flu.
be doing it laughing and
No,
joking with a
they'd be in
smile on their
bed.
face. Jeez.
They'd be in bed. They'd be in bed going, I've got man flu.
But
They want to know. Yeah, no, they would. They would.
Be more than that. There'd be
would.
special units at the hospital. And all those women would be running around. But
I'll tell you something funny as well. Years ago, this was way before I had any form of symptoms of menopause. But obviously, I knew I was going to end up there one day. In our local supermarket, they had, and I don't think you were living here at that point. I think you were over in Chamonix, but they had this T-shirt that came out, which was a night T-shirt, one that you wore as a sort of long nighty type, you know, like knee-length nighty. And they'd spelt it wrong. So we live in France.
Quite often they do that.
And they quite often spell
things on vans, you know.
You know, they want to put English because they think it's trendy for some reason to put the odd English word, right? So they had this T-shirt, and instead of saying sweet dreams, it said sweat dreams.
Oh God!
Which was
I knew that.
No, it quickly went around the English community here. And it was sold out within about 24 hours.
I bet it was.
All the women were buying it for themselves or their friends.
That is fantastic.
I went in to try and buy one for a friend. And I said to the lady, oh, there's none of these, that T-shirt. She went, yes, all of the English women have been in and bought them. We know it was spelled wrongly.
You just made me think, we need to do that. We should do a line of like fun clothing and stuff. I want to do that.
I'm sure it exists.
I love it.
It wasn't. The best thing was it was not intentional.
That's brilliant. That's so.
It was super funny.
Typical of.
It's so funny. This woman who was looking after that sort of shelving bit of clothing in the supermarket was like, "Yes, we know."
It's so typical. It's so typical, isn't it? That is fantastic. You see that all the time.
Oh dear.
Bringing this back to the shame thing. What about you? Have you experienced shame at any point?
So
about the menopause?
No, I would say actually, I'm very lucky on that front. And I did think about this because we tend to speak a little bit before our podcast and go, what are we gonna, what's the main theme? I did think about this and I wondered why that was. And I'm very fortunate, I suppose, in that my work environment is very female. It's very much with women on the whole of that block of age. 35 to about 60, 40 to about 60. I do have younger and I do have older women I work with. And it's yoga, it's coaching, it's meditation, it's face yoga, it's all those kinds of things. We're bang on into it all the time. So my general working environment is very feminine. My general working environment is very open and honest. And so I don't have it in that environment. As I was going through all those symptoms, the real core of it, I was with my partner, David. He's very, very open, welcoming about all that kind of thing, really up for talking about it, understanding about it. So I haven't had any huge symptoms apart from anger, sadness. I had that, slightly itchy skin, but I'm quite lucky. I haven't had many other symptoms, but on brain fog, I had that one as well. But he was really accommodating with all of that. And I think that helped a lot because I didn't have an environment where I would feel guilty. And actually, I kind of jokingly put it out there in other occasions where, I don't know, there was a situation of, Charlotte, concentrate kind of thing. Went, just the menopause.
You've always been good about that.
Just the menopause, just bring back menopause. Just you'll get there one day and you'll understand what I mean. I cannot string two things together at the moment,
And I like that. I like the fact too that I've been in your yoga class where there's been younger women in there too who are not in that stage, and you're very vocal about it. And I think it sets a lovely tone for a lovely example, I guess.
You can carry on doing stuff.
Yeah,
it's just that sometimes you have to back off and just
I
admit you
love,
can't do
I love
it.
the way, because you can see them laughing, not quite getting it, but I think it's really nice the way you approach it.
I mean, I didn't go into it thinking that it was going to be such a taboo thing. I think, in all honesty, because of all those factors I've just said, I didn't think it was such a taboo thing. But when you actually talk to other women about it, then you realize that it is. When you watch this program, when I've listened to other podcasts, you know,
oh yeah,
it's a big thing. But I did a podcast with another woman last year who's much younger. She's like 30, and we did this whole thing, and towards the end of it she was talking about the menopause and my time in life and all that kind of thing, and I said this, you know, in a lot of our traditions of holistic health and yoga, etc., we talk about, in Celtic traditions as well, you have the maiden, which is the young woman phase, and you have the mother, which is kind of the middle phase, and then you have crone, which is like the old woman. But I don't relate to crone yet, because I tend to look at crone as being someone who's like well over 80, you know, and even then
say you're that crone yet.
No, but I'm not mother anymore, right?
No.
So I've kind of defined myself as being a queen.
Oh,
I think I'm in my queen.
You changed it to suit you.
I changed it to suit me.
Be whatever you want.
Maiden, mother, queen, and crone. And even the crone, I'm actually going to put it as a hag, because I prefer the word hag, because I think hag has a certain amount of independent, empowered woman about her. I was part of this group, which still exists.
There's more a wild sort of bohemian type. It depends, doesn't it? Because you can. There's a lot of, can be negative connotation towards like, oh, she's an old hag, but then there's also that kind of wild spirited woman, isn't it?
Well, there's this beautiful Celtic chant that I love singing if I'm feeling a bit like, you know, people are trampling on me, and it goes, I am my mother's savage daughter. I walk. I know, I am my mother's savage daughter. I walk on sharp stones and I curse them. I am my mother's savage daughter. I will not cut my hair, and I will not lower my voice.
There, that's it. I
love singing that with my drum and everything. It just really empowers me. But I found during this phase, I didn't have that. I'm coming back to the shame thing. I didn't have that, but I felt a need to release some of this wild savage daughter bit, and to finally bring it out a little bit more. Not just in my work, because that's easy. My work environment is easy to do that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to bring it out everywhere and unite all the parts of me. I think that was the big.
I'm smiling because I've got this vision of us running around our neighborhood, banging drums and releasing our mother's wild savage daughter. I think, blimey, the neighbors really will think we lost the bottom.
I mean, you don't know this, but at full moon, I go round into the field around here with my drum. I do.
Do you?
And I do, and I chat.
The one that's keeping me awake.
Exactly. It's my drum. I do. I go. There's the odd driver goes past the road thinking, what is that mad woman doing?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love the fact you do that. If I start doing that, I think I will get divorced. Not that we're married, but
a whole other podcast. That one. Last question for this podcast, and this was another one that came from the program, and I found this one really interesting as well. It was, do you feel at this point in your life, bear in mind this is a question to all of the women who are either in the menopause or post, you know, they're menopaused, let's say. Do you feel capable of seducing? And the dog's
oh no, here comes the dog.
I'm just going to move the dog. You answer that.
Do I feel capable of seducing?
If that was the situation that you
were in. You know, my initial reaction was no.
And why?
Because no, but I do. The more I think about it, yes, but not in the same way as I think my initial reaction was no, because when I heard that, when I thought, what is it to seduce? I was thinking again about comparing to me before, and then I think, oh, blimey, no. Here's me trying.
This is the big thing, isn't it? I think this could be another podcast actually, before and after, like the pre-menopause, the post-menopause. should we be doing that?
No.
Is it a good, well, I don't know. Is it a good thing to embrace the new?
For me, I'm thinking, now that I think about it, I think I probably could seduce, but it would be different.
It would have to be different.
What are you trying to say?
No, it has to be different. I don't know how you were when you were younger, but it has to be different because
the suspenders no longer fit.
Well, but then that's another point, you see. It's like, is that seducing? You know, again, this comes down to marketing images of how a woman seduces, how a man seduces, etc. You know, and also our needs are different now. You know, so when you were seducing when you were younger, much younger, there was maybe the biological clock thing in there as well, right? So is this a credible partner for me to have children with? But when you're older and you're post-menopause, it's like, can I bear to stand him? Is he good company at the cinema, or could I potentially live with him?
Yeah, you know, it's very different, isn't it?
Are our life visions similar? You know, are our interests similar? You know,
will he find my sweat grease nighty attractive?
Yeah, and my saggy skin, and
exactly. That's what I was thinking. I could seduce because I'd be seducing in a different way probably a different person. You know, like the person that I would be attracted. It's those days are gone.
Careful.
I know. but as I'm saying that, I'm even thinking about Paul. He's changed. Neither of us are the person we were when we met.
No.
But that doesn't mean I don't find him attractive. But it's very, very different. And I've been looking for those different qualities now. So I don't need to be that person I was before to attract that. I could seduce in my own way. That's it, really, isn't it?
I think it's just that it was an interesting question because they asked the question initially to a woman who was still married. And had been married for many, many years to the same person, because that's also, you know, one of these things nowadays. You get divorced, you remarry, blah, 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 but she's still with the same person. And she said, no, I would not be capable of doing it.
Well, I must admit, the thought of going out there, when you initially said it, that's what I thought. I thought, oh God, no, like the thought of going out there and trying to be all sexy and everything, you know, how I sort of used to think of sexy as being. Oh my God, no, I'd be mortified. No, I'd be mortified trying to be that person. But if you put that aside and just go, okay, well what is it to seduce?
What is seduction? What is seduction at the end of the day? What is it? This was an interesting one. I heard a TED talk a few months ago about the theme of seduction, and it was from a Brazilian woman, and she so if you hear panting, it's not us, by the way, it's my dog. He's decided to try and seduce us and tell you that he's here by panting. But she talked about seduction, and she was saying in Brazil, they don't have the same kind of media. Was it Brazil? Maybe it wasn't. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but they don't have the same media environment. It was Cuba. Sorry, it was Cuba.
Menopausal moment.
But it was Cuba. And why was it Cuba? Because it's a communist country, so they don't have the advertising that we have in our countries, right? So they don't have a comparison point on the television and things like that. So Cuban men and women just think they're amazing because they don't have comparison points. I'm not saying that all of them do, but a lot of them will be out in the street seducing as they are. They have no qualms and inhibitions about stuff.
Well, because it's that comparison
thing. Because we compare continually. It comes back to that before and after.
And comparing not just to others, but to yourself. That's what I was doing. I was comparing to my younger self. And even with that word of seduction, I was thinking, oh, I couldn't do that anymore. But I so could. I think that's what's changed, isn't it? I'd be going out there and just be being me, and it wouldn't maybe be sexy in the sort of traditional sense of the word.
But if you tell me, I'm really sorry, I'm ever so sweaty at the moment.
Still be seductive to somebody who likes sweaty,
stinky women.
Yeah, there you go.
Not really bad as that. I think that there's some other issues that are going to come out from this one, actually. But the before and after one, I think, is a good one. I think we need to look at that a little bit more.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. God, there's so much. We
unpack.
started speaking about shame, but it just goes to show you, doesn't it? It's like there's so much
There's
more
so many
we can
layers to this,
explore.
actually, I think. And yeah, okay. We'll explore that going forwards. Should we leave it for today?
Yeah. And please let us know. We say this every week, but if there's anything,
You would
any
like us to
topics that you
knit
would
a
like
note.
us to speak about, we can only speak about, our experience of it.
Experiences, exactly.
But if it would help in any way for
us to blab
yeah,
about our experience, then feel free.
please let us know.
Feel free. Jill,
All
thank you
right,
very much.
It's time to pause.
Sweat,
Pause
pause,
menopause.
menopause. Sweat dreams then, I suppose.